Okay. Hi, everyone. How are you today on this loveliest of days? Today is Wednesday. Okay. I hope everybody's had a good day. I have had a lovely day. I'm working on stuff, and when you work on things that are outside of your wheelhouse, and I'm not specifically talking about things you're drawing, I'm talking about just in general, just the general idea of this isn't something that you normally do within your comfort zone. I'm not a computer guy. And so when I have to figure out different ways to do things on the computer, it makes me a little bit bonkers. So today I'm going bonkers because I'm trying to figure out a way in which I can put down. I'm trying to fit my one blog that I've put together onto this blog site. And it's a learning curve for me. See, I get to express my stresses to you here because, we're besties. And it's a challenge. It's a challenging thing. Anyhow, so yeah, let's take a look at today's page. Get this goofball out of the way. Move over, goofball. Today's page is fun. The suggestion for today's page is 7 characters in a pit of fear. I'm almost completely done on the list of suggestions where I've unfortunately lost the names of the people that suggested them. So if you're the person that suggested 7 characters in a pit of fear last year, at the end of the year, I'm so sorry. Feel free to let me know who you are so we can get you some credit on your wonky idea. Because it's fun. It's one of those abstract, open-ended, dark, yeah, man, 7 characters in a pit of fear. Which is great, My take on it was a little different. But there's 7 of them. Okay. Exciting news, folks. Right off the hop, by the way, right off the hop on today's page, somebody figured out that the person in the last panel is waving. And that made me as happy as I could be. Because that sort of sells the whole thing, right? Oh, nice. Have fun, Rachel. Make everybody a tiger. Every one of them. I want to be a wizard. You're going to be a tiger and you're going to like it. Have fun. Hi, Philip. How are you? So somebody immediately got the idea that it is, it's waving. And that's, to me, that sort of makes it work. Welcome aboard, Dee. How you doing? So this is a lot of fun. Now, optimally, when a person reads a comic page in the Western world, they start in the top left corner, move across the top, go to the bottom left corner, and then move across the bottom. And in Asia, it starts on the top right corner and moves its way to the bottom right. So it's opposite. And unless you're doing it like a manga style format, you don't need. So you don't need to be doing that. So in the Western format, which is largely North America, South America, and Europe, and parts of Africa, as far as I understand, that's in Australia, right? That's a lot of continents. So that one tends to work in my head. Dee started watching one of Philip's videos and it disappeared. Was it last night's video? Maybe it might have been last night. I started watching last night's video and then I had to go. Okay, so that's the idea, is that this page really works, and in the sense that if you read it from the top left corner and go across and then go to the bottom, and then go right across to the bottom right, and then it sort of has its fun. Does any of this make sense? Yeah. So I've got I've left my drink upstairs. I went and got myself a drink and then I left it upstairs. Boy, I gotta tell you, if I weren't so pretty, 1 second. Give me 1 second. I need a drink. I need my drink. Well, I got us half as far as I needed to go and got myself a carbonated nightmare. So, you know. Okay, so Philip wants to edit last night's thing. He had issues with a certain viewer. I think I know which viewer it was, Philip. You gotta stop letting that viewer on your thing. The start of your thing was cool. Your start of your stream was cool last night, Philip. Yeah, so that's a challenge thing when you've got people that are coming on and you know, you're an adult. You assume that other people that are adults, if they're adults, and it's a challenging thing. Like, you know, I don't know. I can't govern anybody else's behavior, and that's the biggest challenging part about engaging with other people on an open stream where you have a chat and they can engage back and forth with you. Is that, well, it's a whole different thing though if you invite them on. So I don't know that I'm that brave all the time, right? I tend to invite you guys that I like. So yeah. So today's page was the 7 characters in a pit of fear. And then yesterday's page, of course, was The Secret of Canadian Superheroes. And this one was for Frankly Mapleton. This is maple syrup. Somebody asked me why everybody is so pink. This is the project that I'm trying to fit on the blog right now. And so the best advice as I've got is if you go to christopherrunsman.ca, I have the first page, which is just a title page, plus this cover on my my website, and that's where I'm starting. So it's one of those things where I have to learn how to compress the size of my files and change the scale of my file. Oh, what a nightmare! So because again, like I say, I'm not a computer guy, so this makes it a little more challenging. But I've got the cover up, and I've got, and this is one of the pages that's going to go up. This isn't a page that's on right now. This is page 14, but yeah. So, you know, we'll get there. But in the meantime, we're having fun doing our one page too. So in the morning, my schedule for my day, my routine is I get up in the morning, I start working on things for others. You know, that when I've got projects in front of me, I want to do those projects first and foremost, and I'll spend a block of time. And then I come here I finish whatever the page was from the day before, and then I come here and I put it on the stream and put it on the socials things beforehand. And after this, I go and do some around the house stuff and, you know, family time. And then in the evening after Lori goes to bed, because she tends to go to bed earlier than I do, is when I go back and I doodly-do on whatever it is that I didn't get done during the day. So that tends to be what helps me get things done. I've got project fully formatted and ready to go. Now I'm just trying to figure out how to set it up digitally to go on a Webtoon thing. And then all the one pages that I've done here. And I've got another book that I've drawn that I'm literally just figuring it out and formatting that now to go out as well. So I'm getting things done. There's a problem with some of the things that I've done with others in the last while. They don't come to fruition. And for whatever reasons, a big part of a challenge in working independently, and this goes for not just your own work, but more especially when you work with others, when you work with other people, there's a whole bunch of moving parts. And with all those moving parts, there's a whole bunch of opportunities for things to fall apart and for things not to succeed. You not only have to deal with your creative output, but their creative output. plus the organizational sense, plus that whole reciprocity of it all. How are we going to work this out that it gets to its completion, and how are we going to work this out that everybody gets their fulfillment out of it, whether that's economic or a sense of accomplishment or copies, whatever, right? And that's another massive stumbling block. So there's all kinds of situations that are going to get in the way of projects. Budgetary constraints, right? First and foremost. There's some things that I've done and I've had set up to do that they're not going to happen. They're simply not going to happen. And how much time and investment can we put in on those things when they're just not going to happen? And the more and more that I find that planning, thinking, overthinking, right? It tends to push that thing away. I find that just do your thing. And if your thing is going to work in the context of another a project, great. This is my modus of working now. I'm going to do whatever stories and projects I'm doing. If they work in the context of working with another publishing format, another publisher, another opportunity that presents itself, and something I have can be installed into that, super duper. If not, I don't care, because I've got other avenues and possibilities to put those things out. So I've just, in the last year, I'm frustrated that I have X amount of stuff done that's not seeing the light of day. And then the things that I have got done that actually came to fulfillment, they didn't go where they were supposed to go. So it's challenging, but keep on keeping on. So that's a challenge, right? Philip, I hope that your video from last night comes up, because you had, I could see and understand Philip had expressed some challenges on his, but life gets in the way of the creative process, and life gets in the way of your intentional plans. And then within no time flat, he hasn't had a chance to draw, but within no time flat, our boy was drawing. So, and then he breaks his desk. Yeah. So that was good. That was good to see, Philip. I'm glad that he sat down and started drawing. That's where I left, because I had other stuff I got to get done. But Philip is a really good illustrator. If you're still here, Phil, keep at it. Now I've got some exciting stuff I want to show you. I'm very excited by this. And switcheroo. Woo, switcheroo. So this is a fountain pen that I bought at Chapters Indigo last year. It was $10. $10 clearly is high quality. It works. So I really, really enjoy this pen. I enjoy this pen far more than I have another fountain pen that I've got, and it's lovely. But I'll show you the tips. There it is. So the head on this fountain pen, this is a platinum, and this is a good pen. This has a nice wide line that it puts down. Whereas Uli, it's literally named Uli. I don't know if you can see that. Is it there? There it is. There it is. Look at that. So the line that's on this is so much clean and crisp and thin and pretty and lovely. Now, the challenge was I found more and more packages of ink for the platinum when we were at different chapters from the one I bought it at, because they had no more ink. As soon as they sold the pens, they're out of ink. Sorry. Whereas I found an entire bucket, literally a bucket of replacement packages of ink for the platinum. So picked up some of those and thinking, hope they're interchangeable. Wouldn't that be great? But they're not. The Uli pen cartridges or ink cartridges for this pen were smaller. And this tends to be the one I prefer, the Uli. So last night, or not last night, but a couple nights ago, my superstar partner got together and found all these colors. Oh, yeah. Lori helped this basic gorilla of a husband that she has to to get more black ink, which is what I've had up until now. And then she found some blue, some red, some purple. I'm very excited. Very excited about this. So, well, I gotta stretch. The back of my neck is just bugging me. We're all getting older. Sometimes the arthritis in my knee flares up, so I have to take some anti-inflammatory meds, Philip says. I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Hey, so say we all. So say we all. Glad to see you working, buddy. All right, so I've changed things a little bit. Look at, I fixed my camera. Ooh, pretty, pretty. No crazy nightmare blurs like I had before. So hopefully that will make all the children laugh. That's a Bjork quote. So I've got my Uli loaded up with ink. Now I had there's still some black in the reservoir because I haven't flushed it. I've got a blue cartridge in, so I think it is slowly starting to have more blue as the ink comes through. So, you know, there's going to be some fun transitional value, I think, in the drawing as it moves into the blue ink. But I'm so excited to have these options and these choices with the colors to use. And so as this drains down, I am going to load in another color and do that every time because that's so much more fun. Philip says the movements are so much smoother now. I'm glad, Philip. I'm glad to hear that. I've also got the camera changed in its placement so that you can see more of what I'm doing. Now I can, here is the original art for the page I posted today, so you can actually see an 11 by 17 page again. It's just when I had to reboot my whole system there, I lost all of my settings on everything, and so I had to redo them all. But look at that. I lost the setting on my glasses. Anyhow. All right, so there's that. I'm getting used to wearing glasses full time now. Everything's changing for me. Yeah. Chris, I know you've mentioned this, but what camera do you use over your table? I use an Icotis, ICODIS. I'll write it down for you right here on this piece of paper that you can still see in the shot. I, and then capital CODIS, one word, Icotis. And what it is, it's an overhead scanner. And so the overhead scanner has the facility for you to shoot video so that as a teacher, it works as an overhead projector. You have this and you're making some notes and they're projecting on the wall for your students. And you know, it could work in that capacity like a smart board does now, where it's just, here's your setup on the, you're actually drawing on a digital board at the front. So I bought it so that it could scan 11 by 17. And yet I always had to deal with ostensibly taking a picture of a subject down below. So you've got to flirt around with all the lighting or have it all permanently set up. And you've got to flirt around with the fact that glare kicks back off of a lot of mixed media works or stuff that's got medium on it. And then I did a job on a film. And because I'm running back and forth to a copy place, because to scan the original art that I'm sending to this film, they sent me a scanner. They bought me and sent me a scanner. And so, right? Which is super cool. Super cool. UN Productions. They have a super cool job. And I'm so thankful for that. But that scanner has facilitated so much more. And so I can do a page, throw it on the scanner. Now, depending on the size of the page, this scans perfectly fine. Legal letter format scans perfectly fine. But as soon as I move up into the 11 by 17, I have to do it in segments. And then I got to stitch those together in Photoshop, and I'm completely fine with that. I really am, because the quality of the scanning that it gives me, I love that machine. Its name is Giorgio. So yeah, the overhead scanner I set aside, and it's like this pedestal, and the front of it flips up. And so when you've got this pedestal, and then the front goes wah, and then here's the camera that faces down on top of the object, and it'll scan as big an object as you can raise it above, right? But I still had that kicking around, and I thought, well, I feel foolish. I'd spent this money on this device. It was $100, but I spent this money on this device, and well, now this new scanner's here and it's working. That's great. And it was a learning curve for me, this other device. And maybe at some point in time, I can figure out another use for it. So then Scott Cirkland from Cirkworks Art Labs, check out their YouTube channel. Scott's taking a brief hiatus right now after 8 years of posting every week. And 8 years, he's allowed a break. Scott started using one of these that he purposely went out to buy for that. And I went, I've got one of those. And until then, I've been trying to jimmy a little tiny portable remote camera for your PC. And this whole gawky thing set up over top of my desk for this cheap camera to hang over top. And instead, I've got the overhead scanner. So it works great. I will at some point replace, I will replace how I go about things at some point in time to be a little more professional with the quality of the imagery that I'm giving people. But you can do a lot with a little, right? I mean, the cameras I have are $30 each, and comparative to what other people spend, that's ridiculous. I know that Dee Dee has a lovely image, and when she shoots above her desk area, but we saw the setup. She has it mounted on a yardstick, and I think that's brilliant. I think that's absolutely brilliant. That's completely my way of doing things. I might just look into that. We've been looking for a scanner that can do 11 by 17. Then you can look to spend $600. Because I've done so much research into this, Philip, and they're all minimum $500, $600 units. You can get one that has a built-in photocopier, and built inside of it, they're very large. Or you can find a flatbed 11 by 17 scanner, but they're not inexpensive. They start around $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. And they go upwards of 3,000 from what I've seen. Terrifying. Get an 8.5 by 11 and stitch things together in Photoshop. It's so much more economical. This 8.5 by 11 scanner table was still $300 some odd, but it's manageable. So yeah, I've got some things that I picked up trying to figure out the rhythm and the way to go about setting up my situation here. I have a radial arm that I've got to hook back up. I've got a second one that's hooked up over here that keeps my keystroke shortcuts and my diabetic stuff on a clipboard. And then I've got a secondary one which is much larger and bends over top of the table space. But I don't want to be too cumbersome in my setup. So anyhow, so back to thingamajiggers. Let me see what I'm missing out on here. Back to this. I'm very excited about the Uli. I just want to, I'm going to leave those there. I love the Uli pen. We're going to draw with it today. Dee Dee's smiley face. Look at that smiley face. They cost astronomical amounts. Dee Dee doesn't scan anything. She takes pics, and she does them with her iPhone. Yeah, the iPhone's fantastic for taking shots of stuff, and it does the job. It really does. It does the job. I don't have an iPhone. I have this. What are you called? You'd think I remember it. It doesn't matter. It's a phone. But the camera, I have Android. That's what they're called. Android. And the camera is genius in this phone. It really is. It's an absolutely genius camera. I got the scanners. Ideally, what I should do is shoot through my phone and put that through my computer. But it's just, it's a lot of farting around. So I haven't figured out how to do that farting around yet. Philip says, I usually use my phone scanner. It's not always easy. Take pictures instead, like Dee Dee says. Take photographs. Set your image out on a place. If you got a black blanket or a black mat or something, lay that down, put your image on it. Try to get your image as best you can in the frame and snippety snappity do, right? You've got different settings for flashes on your camera, right? If you need to use those, then use those. You're going to get glare and flare out on the smoother the surface, right? Especially if you got glass or something in there. If it's framed in glass, take it out, right? But yeah, use your camera. That's absolutely fantastic information from Dee Dee to just facilitate those needs through a camera. Even if you've got like a little Kindle, whatever, you can take pictures with those suckers. The only thing is that take a glasses cleaner, spray your picture aperture, and clean it with yeah. I'm good with words. Dee Dee excited about his pen. Yep. I am so pathetic sometimes. Phone cameras are so good these days. They really are. They truly are. This is an absolute truth. There's so many different, there's so many different things that we can do with the technology that we're presented with these days that were such elaborate steps before. Just in our lifetimes, without saying how old anyone is, just in our lifetimes, we've gone from, overlay or hand lettering to overlay acetate, to rub transfer acetate, overlay acetate stickers to rub transfer acetate, to early typeset machines that can print out letters for us. And then we get into computer programs that start to let us just have those things in them. Like, that's just lettering, right? And we've gone that far and within a century, right? I gave it away. I'm within 100 years old. So just the remarkable changes that have happened in our time. Kids these days, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I've got a blue ink cartridge in my pen. There's still black ink that's in the reservoir. That there's a transitional reservoir. Here's your compartment that has the ink in it. Then there's your there we go. There's your reservoir that has the ink in it that you plug into the pen. Then there's this transitional reservoir, right, that controls the flow of the pen, gravitic feed, right? And then there's the fountain tip. But there was still black in here, and now I've been dumping blue into it. So it's going to switch at some point from black to blue. And then next up, I think I'll put the purple in. After the purple, I'm going to put in a red. So we'll transition slowly and surely, and then I'll put a black in. So, all right. Okay, my wife laughed at me about this the other day. Whenever I take a lid off of a device that has a lid on it, I do that immediately, every single time. And we were signing a card for somebody for their birthday recently, and she sets the lid right here. And I did this crazy, and only artsy fartsy crazy pen and marker people will do this. I just kept staring at, when's that lid going to go back on that pen? My poor wife. Dee Dee says there's nothing wrong with that habit. I love her, but I make her nuts sometimes. I must. Okay, so let's get the book out. Let's get cracking. Half an hour of just blathering at you. So I've gone through and looked back at some of the earliest ideas, and there's still a couple here. Like I've got this one, Tag, a peaceful, calm demeanor person who's being investigated, but whenever he's threatened, he turns into this, it's a Jekyll Hyde thing, right? He turns into a crazy person, a psychopath. And the idea of him saying, Tag, you're up, and then the other person coming out is an interesting idea to me. So I wrote that down. This is one of the last few things that are, I don't remember who made the suggestion. So Philip says, tools. Tools are important. Keep those locked up and safe. I like these white scanner boxes on Amazon. You can put your phone on top of it to line it up. And I almost got one until I realized how easy they are to make. Yeah, you don't need stuff like that, right? I have this. I picked this up, and I've used it once so far. Now, it cost me $10 because I got it on clearance. But can you see it in camera? Nope, you can't. So this is on top of Statler and Waldorf here, I have this. And what this is a smartphone projector. So you put your smartphone inside of this. You lift this off the back, and you set it inside your camera. And because of refraction in a mirror, it projects out here onto another surface. And so you can take an image off of your phone and blow it up. And I've used it once. It works. But unless I'm doing a large scale piece that I want to expedite the drawing time of, it's handy to have kicking around. But these aren't the answer ever. Things like this are not the solutions. Now, I've got an actual overhead projector that's in the storage closet that I need to get rid of. If anyone would like it and can figure out a way to get it from me, you can have it. Otherwise, it's our next trip to the dump. It's going with us. This is an old school opaque projector. You set this over top of your image, and it has the light inside of it and sits on top of your image. You turn it on, the light bulb makes that shine onto the wall, does the exact same job as the other thing I just showed you. It just does it on paper. And then, of course, an overhead projector is the one you saw in school when you were, elementary through high school. They use those from, I think, from my understanding, they used them from around the 50s, 60s into the 80s. And largely retired at that point because you started getting different projection devices. So if an image, if your picture's a little crooked, you just turn it in the camera setting. See, that's perfect. Camera obscura is, here's a reality that people are having a hard time with. Camera obscura was used by Caravaggio. The Caravaggio had a setup. So, yeah, that's a real deal. It's a real thing. And he would have all his models posed in the opposite room. And then he would have an aperture of light. And he would have a refractive mirror on a post. And it would do this refraction of the image as he sees it in the other room and projects it directly above his paper. And he would, or his canvas in this context, and he would just draw it right to his canvas. So, David Hockney, there's another person that used one. Yes, indeed, they do. Both of these really talented painters. Are you a big Hockney fan, Dee? Old school overheads. I nab it if I could get it. Philip, if I'm driving your way, I will drop it off. We want it out of our house. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dee agrees. Philip. So, so I've got a couple stories. Here's one I might want to do today. I don't know yet. It's a story about an indestructible hero who's constantly afraid of being scared and has no ability to fight. He can also not carry a tune and has no rhythm and can't dance. I wish I'd wrote down who gave me this because that's a lot of fun. That's one that I have yet to do. But I think I'd already said that I was going to do a certain one today, and I can't remember what it was. But if anybody has suggestions, please, by all means, feel free to throw them at me. We've got dinosaurs versus Denny Bots. Jim and Gary's top 5. I'm working on a page with someone right now, and I'm very, very excited about it. Dramatic. Wasn't that dramatic? So, yeah, can I got a question. I'm going to put this up for a second while I'm just getting myself organized for which one I'm going to do. I love this. This is a great expression. There aren't too many artists I don't like. Traditional artists, yes. A lot of postmodernists, no. As far as it goes for me. There's an awful lot of artists out in the world today in these major artists and galleries, and I look at their work and go, just sit down. But the contemporary art world, and I have a different sense of judgment. So, okay. Yeah, okay, so my question is, must be with Jim and Gary. Jim is my first guess. Yep, you got it. Jim and I are working on a page together, and I'm really excited about it. I gave him my half already, and he is off to the races. So when you look at today's page, I'm just curious if anybody what the sound is or what the thought is about what it says in the last panel. Do you hear it, rawr? Do you hear hello? Like, is there any sound that comes to mind when you're reading this page and you see the last panel? I'll leave that up for a minute for anybody. All right, so yeah, Corey Kerr is the ball in a Rube Goldberg machine. Christopher versus Eva Christopher. These are all up on the docket. In 500 years, we will finally figure out what came first, chicken or egg. Scientists will discover the gnome genome. So, yeah, I think that an Earth flooded with a diverse amount of creatures that science decided would be a good idea, and they're not. Backed up with lots of robots. That's a suggestion. So nice. The person wanted to remain anonymous. Okay, so has anybody got any preferences from what I've said? What is this? I'm dead. I have no sound. Oh, that's what you heard. I thought you were telling me that my sound went out. You dead. That's so good. Because in my head, I hear... That's what the bear says. Fantastic. Brilliantly funny. Is there something that went through my head when I was drawing that last panel that I highly doubt anybody else has it? Josh Campbell likes that it's waving. He loves that fact. But in my head, I actually heard the bear. Like, it's not that, I heard the bear saying something. I'm not saying that. It's just when you're writing the dialogue, there's a word I could have the bear say that I just didn't do it because I want people to have that, you dead. I want that. Because everybody's going to interpret the end of that differently. And to me, that's, hey. So, all right. Okay. So let's figure out what's today. Let's, I think I'm going to do the Jekyll Hyde. I think that sounds like a little piece of fun. There's just something about the affordance of opportunity that presents. It's a really old one, that's for sure. Or would you rather I do the Indestructible Hero? Because that's fun too. Either way, we're going to play. So I've got a couple things at play. I've got a Tombow water-based brush pen, and of course it has two heads, and there's the chisel tip at the other side. Okay, Dee wants the Jekyll Hyde. I'm down with that bad sound. So I've got the Tombow gray tone pens, and I've got a couple of different grays for that. and a black brush. But why don't we just get started on getting down with some bad sound? So, oh, I got to turn the camera. I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah. So if anybody else has any thoughts about what they think that last panel is, that's good stuff. You did. Yeah, I just like that. You don't want to have to fight the bear. You would think that there'd be some sense of camaraderie for a bunch of people trapped in a dark pit of fear, hanging over top of them, that whoever the new person that comes in, just tell them to make as much noise as they can so they get picked to go fight the bear. That way we're okay, right? Or maybe somebody has a belief that maybe they could beat the bear. I don't know. Hey, it's Cat and Paste. The bear sounds like Yogi or Boo Boo. How you doing there, Pally boy? That's fantastic. I like that. I likes it. All right, so today we're doing our Jekyll Hyde. What I really like about the way I've changed things around a little bit is that I'm not trapped in this really constrained position that I was before for how I had to work. So I've adjusted this specifically so that I can, move it closer. So my thought here is I'm going to move all my Uli inks and a multitude of colors. I should do an Uli inks commercial. And they'd be like, yeah, okay, guy, whatever. I don't know that I'd be the spokesman for any company. All right. So I'm going to just get cracking. So what I thought I'd do is play with roughing it in a little bit with the water pen. Just because I can. But I really like the opportunity that line presents itself with the Uli a lot. I don't want to smudge the pen marks yet, and I'm not entirely sure about the light fastness of the pen yet. I haven't tested it out too much. So we'll do that as we go. I hope everybody's having a good day. And Philip, I hope that your arthritis isn't bugging you today. And everybody else is feeling sound as a British pound. Are we still allowed to say that, or is it still sound? It's rough. It's rough when you're not feeling great and you got things to do. I am familiar with that. I think I'm I glutton for punishment because I'll push myself into doing stuff, and you don't enjoy that when you do that. So, hey, Kat, what you working on? I'm going to use for my Jekyll Hyde. I'm picking a fight. I'm using a public personality that I think is just a complete pile of bozo. So I'm going to turn him into a crazy bozo. Passive aggression. All right. There's a fun thing in a Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz comic. It's Daredevil Elektra. The guy who's running for president, they always show him like this. Like his face never changes. And I've always liked that. I've always thought that is the only way to represent politicians and the like in literature, like in visual literature. And if it was an animation, I do the same thing. Just the whole idea that just such a fake face. And I love that. So, Uli pen. So I do this. I don't know if other people do this. I roll it around in my hand as I'm working and get different vibes for the lines. And for me, I likes that. I likes that very much. So I don't know if other people do that, but I do, and it gives me different results. And sometimes we need to pursue those sort of different marks that we can make with anything to let us do what it is that we want to do, right? Right. I vote Dr. and Hyde. Just read that again. It's such a different way of having to draw than when you're drawing with like a ballpoint pen, because with a fountain pen, it's very different levels of ink that comes out. It's very different. There's a solid black to the lines that come down, whereas with pen, you have this complete control over gradation, right? And there's benefits to both. There really are. But I think that there's certain ways that you need to. There's different applications that you can do with the two different tools, and to get wildly different, varied results. I kind of like that. I kind of like that about them, and working from one to the other. But I do know other people that really dislike that, so they would prefer it. There's a uniformity to it. And, everybody has their own way, right? Some people prefer to use softer mark making tools. Some people tend to want to use really, just speaking traditionally, really broad and solid opaque marks, and then tighten in on an image, and like how you would as a painter. Or everybody's got a different approach and their different preferences. Like with the digital world, there's just so many different ways you see people apply themselves to it. There's people that come at it like painters, and then there's people that come at it in layers, like they've penciled and then they've inked and then they've colored, and all those different things. Dee Dee says, I like Bic pens for ink sketching. Bic pens are great. I like Papermate, right? Like, it's funny when it's something like a ballpoint pen, when people get preferences on it. Artists are weirdos. But you do after a while. You get, there's a feeling that this one works for me in a way that I'm more comfortable with. And that's completely appropriate and interesting to pursue that. I can see blue peeking through on the ink every now and then, so it's already starting to happen with the change. It's very fun. I think that I'm being really restrained in how I'm working with this, and it's largely because it's my first drawing with this tool in a while, and it's very, very different than normally how I work with softer values and bringing them up. The Biab phone. Yes. What did I miss? Oh, you'd be right back. It's the phone. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm almost hopeless today. All right, we're all going to wait. I'm always interested to see what other people are working on. So if there's anything that anybody wants to tell us about, let me know. Maybe it's the bat phone. Ah, that's hilarious, God. Commissioner, what seems to be the problem? So good. And it's a red one. It's just this random red phone sitting in the middle of a room. No one's going to know what that's about. As you work for any duration on a project with a tool or with the medium or whatever it is, you will see a transitional change in how you're working. The people that don't, I you know, I'm always surprised by, or maybe they've reached a plateau that this is the way they work and that there's no change. But I find that I can see anyways variations in a project from the start of a book to the end of a book, and I'll recognize those things. I don't know if other people might. It's the same crappy trons all the way through, Runciman. But I know I do. I know I can tell that there's differences. I'm still getting used to my glasses too. The transitional nearsighted, farsighted, nearsighted, farsighted. So sometimes I'll look at my drawing and I hit the transition like, wah. Just can't wait for that future to come up. Laser eyes. Eye replacements. I want laser eyes. Especially if it expedites the cooking of dinner. My wife can go in the kitchen and go, and suddenly there's like this fantastic food. She usually looks at me with a "get out of my way" kind of a look, and then miraculously makes wonderful things appear. And I find that when I cook, it's a loud and noisy and aggressively destructive process. Maybe not that bad, but so I'm using a specific person, and I don't expect anyone to guess who that is, but I'm using a very specific likeness for this page that hopefully it's recognizable enough that somebody might get it, and hopefully it's not so recognizable enough that these weirdo cult followers will sit outside my house and try to ruin my world. I like the idea of duality in a story. I like the idea that there's this wonderful thing in Jekyll and Hyde, where the presentation of idea is that this brilliant, attractive scientist is, who's all the girls go, "Oh, he's so wonderful," and I love being his maid. All these sort of assertions that he's a proper society person and everyone likes him and he's just brilliant and so wonderful and he's so focused on his work, and it's all expressed really positively. But the truth is, and then when he creates the serum that he becomes Hyde, he's everything opposite. He's this monstrous persona that he likes to do all the bad things in society, and he's so terrible. And my perspective on this has always been conflicting, I think, with the general. There's all these assessments that are made that say, the bad part of his psyche came out when he turns into Hyde, and it resembled, because so the original Hyde is supposed to be like 4 feet tall, and this sort of grubby little monstrous person that engages in all the bad habits of society and has incredible violence inside of him. And the whole suggestion that's in all of us, right? And the scientist is nobly trying to root that out of people. There's a sort of leap that takes that my brain doesn't, and that just sort of says, I think Jekyll and Hyde are inseparably the same person. It's like the idea that if you're the maniacal pursuit of trying to separate A from B that's in the scientist is just as flawed as the physical difference, the physical result, and the bad choices, the bad behaviors of his alternate self. I don't see him as any different. Cat says, none of us can have as many virtues as a fountain pen or half its cussedness, but we can try. It's Mark Twain. So good choice for choosing Jekyll and Hyde. Wonderful. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for putting that up. That's wonderful. I really appreciate that, Kat. Good old Mark Twain quote too. I think that society does not give Twain enough measure anymore. I think that yeah, sure, it's a fast quotes for a lot of things and a lot of people, but I think that society might be missing out on so many amazing things that were said by Twain. Just like with the study of all these modern films and the way that modern films are being made and stuff like that, I think a lot of people need to go back and look at quotes from Hitchcock. And I think that a lot of people need to go back and look at, finally John Ford appeared in a film recently. But of course, he comes off as this garish and horrible, obnoxious character. But what that John Ford had to say about the making of film is so succinct and to the point. And I'm afraid that some of those lessons that he presented are being lost. I think that a lot of films are straying away from some of the aesthetic that he had in his camera choices and his projects. Anyhow, with the Jekyll Hyde thing, I think that the scientist is inherently flawed. I think that his obsessive noble intent is still problematic because his obsessive noble intent has cost. Everything has cost. And I realize that there's deeper messages that are in the original piece, but and they come out quite well. But when in a lot of the adaptations of Jekyll and Hyde, here he is, he's so good and he's so noble, but he's so weak and he's doing all of this for the right reasons and unleashes chaos. And I think he's nuts to start with. I think that his level of obsession is so high that he doesn't look at the moral question of separating one part of the self from another. Or, initially his intent is to suppress it, right? Suppress those baser instincts of man that's inside of all of us. And while that has noble intention, there are a great deal of things that we've done in this world with noble intention that aren't noble. So I think that when they first did the Hulk character at Marvel Comics, who is absolutely Jekyll and Hyde, the scientist's noble intention is to save the person that's wandered out onto the blast field where they're doing gamma radiation tests, and he runs to grab this kid and knocks him into a crevice, down into a crevice, and he takes the full blunt of this blast, and that makes him the Hulk, big and green and angry. The intention, the noble intention is there, but of course they're testing gamma radiation bombs, right? So the noble act, the guy's making a bomb. So as a scientist, his moral certainty, his intrinsic moral self is compromised to some extent because he's choosing violence. He's choosing war, right? And there are a great deal of people in this world that engage in conflict, and it's a very important thing that we look at the fact that doesn't make it that's absolute morality in that for the best of intentions. But there's always somebody who does something and states the best of intentions. I'm going to make bombs, and then is surprised that that went bad. You're making a bomb. Anybody know the Oppenheimer quote? They're making a film of them right now, or they've made it, or it's going to be out. Does anybody know the popular Oppenheimer quote, which is not his expression, it's him stating somebody else's, without having to look it up? There's a blue, there's a gradation that's happened. There's a graying of the ink that's coming in now, or a softening of the black, because I think the blue cartridge that I have in there is starting to influence the ink more and more. So I've got our principal here, character coming through, and I'm just going to fill him in a little bit more. So there's my opening image is his stepping into the scene, or him trying to engage in the conversation immediately and off the hop. I like in a story if I can get right to the meat and potatoes as fast as I can. There are moments in a story where you want to build it up through the imagery, and that really tends to help show if you're contextually building a world, or if you're trying to establish a state of isolation or distance. It's important to have a lot of visual imagery. A prime example of that would be the opening of The Shining, right, by Stanley Kubrick. We get a sense of the isolation because the camera follows the road to the Overlook Hotel through the opening credits. And it does a brilliant job of saying, yeah, they're on the middle of nowhere. So, but for me, especially when these pages these stories are one page, I want to get right to the meat and potatoes here. Get right down to business. Get to the job at hand. I can do more of these if you like all day. But so if anybody else had other ideas of what the last panel that I posted, of the page that I posted today, Dee thinks that the bear, Josh Kimball likes that the bear is waving. Dee feels like that the bear is saying, "You did," right? And in my head, the bear is going, "Hello." So if anybody has alternate ideas of what is happening in the last panel of today's page, Pit of Fear, let us know. I'm just for my own curiosity. All right. So I like drawing with the fountain pen, and I like being able to bop that gray value in there. Hold that up a little bit. It tends to have it's like drawing with a nib without having to constantly dip it into some ink. So all right, so around our guy, just making sure I've got some consistency of a line across here. I think I do. But on our guy, around our guy, I'm going to tone out the background, unless this pen is dead. Thank you. I bring these to the Comic Jam that I host each month, and people use your tools at times at that thing, and this is dead. It's dead. Thank goodness I got 26 of them. I don't, but you know what I mean. So I'm just filling in this background. Again, this is another one that's largely dry, which is always disappointing. Kat, I like your take on it too. I really do. I really like the picnic basket. How you doing there, pal? Welcome to the pit. Should have drawn a smaller bear beside him. Welcome to the bed. And welcome to the picnic basket. What do you think of this guy, pal of mine? You know, stuff like that's really fun. So I want to try to figure out if we've got nice version of him. I want to do nasty version of him. So if I have the character, if he's here and I have him leaning this way, this is his positive self. If I have him going that way, then maybe that's the associative difference, right? The idea that good version, bad version. Good cap, bad cap. Yeah, we weren't expecting all the Uli inks that I got in today to arrive until the end of the week. So very, very happy. Very, very happy. So I'm going to try a different approach in how I'm using the pen, the fountain pen here for the drawing too. I want to really chase down a different structure, structural marks, and see what that lets me do differently as I'm defining the character. I'm missing stuff here. I'm impressed by your fountain pen skills. Is there a medium that you don't like? I'm allergic to oil paint. I use acrylics when I'm working on paintings because so oil pastels are out for me. I have to use alternate kinds, and oil paint is out for me. I have to use acrylics, watercolors, gouache, things like that, because something about the binding, I have a hard time breathing. So I know what you're thinking. It's one of them, the kid's allergic to peanuts. You stay in the house, kid. Yeah, I know. I just haven't really had the opportunity to explore those at all because the first time I tried, sick as a tick. So. That's very nice of you to say that too, Kat. I appreciate that very much. All right, so I've laid in a structure for his face, and again, I'm trying to good side, bad side, just something like that for the same character can help the viewer understand that here he is in this form and there he is in that form. So just trying different things, right? And I have to think about what's a way I want to come at making these marks on his face. Or is it just a matter of the textures themselves as I'm putting them down and having a consistency of the marks, but just different types of marks on his face, right? Kat, or anybody else that's here, sorry, Kat says, oh, and wow, oil painting is really becoming popular again. There's something I don't think I've ever been one to do is that I have no idea what's in or out. I'm so behind the curve all the time. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that. There are all kinds of medium that you can use with acrylic and other kinds of paint that let you emulate oil paint. There's one thing that basically works as like a linseed type of coating on, with your painting so that you think it's oil. Brings up the color values and gives it this high gloss seal to it. sort of sheen on it, but it smells like oil paint, and for some reason that sets me off. So I can't use that stuff, which is a little depressing, a little disappointing. It's weird, the things that the challenges that we have, or what we might be allergic to, or I love blueberries, but I'm allergic to blueberries, so I can't have blueberry pie. There's the obvious things like lactose intolerance, right? The more and more, like humanity is not. We're drinking the milk of another organism, and it doesn't always work. So people like me, I drink almond milk. I know, no, you can't milk an almond. We should call it what it really is. It's juice from nuts. Almonds juice. Almond squeezed juice. I don't know. There's no nice way to say it. Let's just call it almond milk. I think that any medium we should be able to work with. It's just a matter of give it a go. Give it a try. Eventually, there's some degree of comfort or understanding that one will have over time with any given medium. So it's just a case of you're never going to hit the dartboard unless you throw a dart. I've been using that expression a little much lately. Somebody I know is having huge motivation issues, and a friend that I was talking to the other night at the jam. He tends to be somewhat melancholic at times, and he's having a hard time with figuring out, I want to do this, but I can't. And you're never going to hit it. You're never going to hit these objectives of yours unless you just do them. Just start making things and doing things. Uh-oh. Hiya, Chris. Looking a bit while I get final project grades. Yeah, that's an intense time. I don't think a lot of people appreciate the intensity of time that this is for you right now, right? No pantless Paul today. It's a terrible nickname. Kat says, I really liked your red crayon drawing the other day. Respect on that one. Which, is that the Canadian Heroes? Is that, I think that's the Canadian Heroes one. Yeah, thanks, Kat. That's very nice of you. That was, nobody that's an adult draws with crayons. That's one of those situations where you can use anything. Everything counts. It's just a matter of, again, going for it, right? I said that once and it stuck. He doesn't mind. He'd tell us, all right, enough. And then we'd stop. Janet did a cartoon of him. Hi, Ariri. Good afternoon. Just putting down some of these little textures, a little more chunky. These lines is how I'm approaching it. Good version, bad version. Yes, the Canadian one. Why only red crayon? Do you eat the red ones last? How many licks does it take to get at the center of a pudding pop? 1, 2. Red's left. Yeah. No, there's no. Just the one I grabbed. Let's work with this. I like to draw with. Sometimes I like to draw with a single tone. Somebody asked me recently, is it easier just to do something monotone? I don't know that it's necessarily so much the ease of doing a monotone piece as much as it is you have to now try to push depth and allow the contrast of lights and darks to really punch through. And when you've only got one value, it really makes you lean hard into having to think about how form works and how light moves around form. And so I like at times to work with a single value because of that, because of those reasons. And then at other times I like to use color to really differentiate and change the shape and form and positioning of things, pull things forward, push things back, pull surfaces forward, like on a cheek, push surfaces back, like on the side of the face. There's so many different things that you can do. It's a case of just trying it out. But red is not the only color that I had left because I'd eaten the others. I usually start with the red. It is the yummiest. So I'm making the Jekyll and Hyde version of this character with a specific model and oh, that's my door. Hold on, give me 1 second, please. I'll be right back. Be right back. Here, Mike. Be right back. Sooner or later, you find a way down. Hi, salesperson. But I got my drink. Sorry about that, folks. I'm back. Chris Kloof says, I'm experimenting with wax crayon and watercolor. I'll try more as soon as I have free time. Yeah, right. Not right now. Oh, yeah, right. You said it. Not until next Monday, I guess. I have 96 colors. My dealer is 6. We have all of this stuff that we buy for the kids over the years, and now whatever of that is left over, the wreckage, the detritus of going through our kids growing up, and in what little bits that we've bought or I've taken out of the studio. This I don't like this, and I put it in the same craft area, craft supplies, marker supplies, crayon supplies, etc. for our grandkids now. And yeah, it's it's fun to just go in there and, hey, can I want to draw with crayons? But trying something like crayons with watercolor is that's great. That's absolutely great. That's exactly the kind of thing that opens up possibilities too, especially with the idea of resist, because wax works as a resist with the watercolor wash over top of it. There's a fun thing about using a white crayon and putting that into like a clear or a white crayon in your drawing. And then when you wash a color over it, it just works like a resist. I've always liked that. So see if your dealer's got any of those. I didn't engage with the salesperson I saw walking away from my house, but he had a clipboard and he was looking at my neighbor's house, which means he's just going door to door. Because then the last thing in the world I want to do is even open a conversation about, hi, sir, are you interested in your lawn care? No. I mow my lawn. There's a house that's sold nearby where we live, and it's got AstroTurf, and there's a part of me that looks at it and goes, no. I have pics of those experiments on Instagram. Excellent. I'm gonna have to look those up. Chris Kalu, wax and water experiments. Oh, I think my pen just switched to blue. Like I said, when I got my replacement ink cartridges, and I got this little smorgasbord of colors to choose from, I put a blue one in, and I had previously a black one in there, and so what was left in the reservoir was sort of bleeding out as the blue is coming down. And so the color in my drawing, I'll hold that up, in that chin is switching to blue. So, yay! Right now I'm listening to XTC. There are all kinds of artists, all kinds of illustrators that'll focus on one medium. I always have respect for that. I myself clearly go a different path, but I always have respect for that because I like the idea of a person having a mastery, developing a mastery of a specific thing. The problem is too many eggs in one basket in my head, but when it comes to me, I can't. You also start getting this is why some people are like, hey, because all their eggs are in one basket, right? I really do respect that, though, when somebody develops a real proficiency in one specific mark-making form. So Chris says gel pens are water-soluble, too. They're good for experimenting. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The Jelly Roll White unfortunately destabilizes and dissipates, I find. But you can use it, and depending on which pen it is that you're using and who the manufacturer is, they just die as a pen while you're trying to work with water. But other brands, other kinds, no, they're pretty resilient. So I'm making his hair a little less controlled and defined in a nice way, and sort of pushing it. making them less cuddly. The character. So I've tried to change my setup a little bit so that there's more of the surface visible, and that it's more comfortable for me for working because I was having to do this contrived stretching thing, and it was starting to be aggravating. I found that a couple things were really warping my perspective on stuff. So here we are again. So I don't want to differentiate too much on the character. I just from his one persona to his next. I want to have a consistency in it, but I want to do little subtle variations on how he like his fabric sits on his body and things like that. So if I go through coloring this, I want to allow myself the ability for color to come through. So you don't want to really fill in too many solids. It takes it away from you to be able to put the variations of color and the impacts that you can get through those. So I've undone his tie a little bit. Just weird little things that in my head make sense, but maybe the viewer will catch on to those things. Like what I was referring to today about the bear, the fact that the bear is waving in today's page. So happy that somebody got that immediately. I'm like, because it could just be weird static pose, right? Somebody got it. Digital color. I like the digital color a lot. Even the page that I did yesterday, which is monotone, I put color on it. I did screens. I'll do these really light screens. It's almost like they're washes in backgrounds. I really enjoy doing that. And so today's original is, mixed media, traditionally drawn page. But if I switch over to, so you can see there are washes, but watch right here specifically, okay? And you'll see like there's the Post-it in here and the tape that's in here, okay? And it's very highly contrasting. But when you go in and Photoshop or whatever drawing program you're using, and you do some a little consistency in your washing, you can flatten out a color, like in that first panel that says Pit of Fear, or you can push back the value of, let's say, the people that are sitting in a circle down in this panel here. Can you see me wiggling the? No, I guess you can't. Second panel on the left side at the bottom, you can see how it grays out the floor, and then when you go back to the original, you can see how it's far more contrasted, right? And so you can mute values where you want them muted, and you can beef up values with opaque white pokes here and there. But the other part is, if you look at the lines, the shapes, the tape, the Post-it, whatever it is that I modulated on the surface, the scratches of pencil crayon that I scribbled all over the page, right? When I go in and I tighten up in Photoshop, I take it all out and just flatten that blue. And not only flatten the blue, but put those nice black lines around the contours of those panels, just to give it a little more polish, a little more cleanup. And so I and it's less time consuming than it is to work traditionally. So to draw it all traditionally, and then to go in and scan this image here and to do little washes of flesh tone, or to do washes of the color of the shirt or the suit, or to push a little bit of value in that background, like a muted brown or something like that. I love doing stuff like that more and more. I think that gives us the facility to really enhance our work. Now, if you're doing, coloring specifically, and you've colored the entirety of the object, the whatever the surface is, you can still go in with these really light washes, these really light screens, and adjust some of those color values. Or you can take the forward, let's say the forward object in your image, right? And by putting a wash over top of this, right, a couple little washes, and graying out the back or toning out the black in a complementary to your forward value. And then you go into those layers and erase out the area where your forward image is. Then it manages to push that forward image away from the background because of the devaluing of the color over here. And you don't want to lose those colors, and you want to keep them somewhat crisp. So if you can just put a slight sheen of like a 20% or a 30% over top of that, it changes that whole sort of game. And I'm finding more and more with the pages as I'm working on them that I feel like those are really effective ways to enhance the depth of an image. Now, I might be speaking out my butt. It's just really uncomfortable. Maybe other people don't register it, but I do, and I'm having fun exploring the opportunity of it. So I'm going to keep doing it. Man, that guy can talk out of his butt a lot. Yeah, it's it's David Miscavige. Yeah, if anybody is really into science fiction, you had to run a religion about it. Yeah, I think that this person's a lunatic, but so I'm changing the shift of his shoulders too, just to try to push further that he's tilting to the left here. He's tilting to the right there, right? I'm sorry, I still got that up, Chris. Apologize for that. Yeah, today's character is based on a real person who's highly litigious and psychopathic. If anybody here's in their club, I apologize, but you just sort of, after a while, make these sort of marks and just go with them, right? And see where they take you and how they define the character in your images, or I'm debating already about just using a different tool, a tool. See, I let people borrow these at the Comic Jam, and they get wiped out really, really fast. And that can be very antagonizing. So I think this might be wiped out to some degree. Don't let people touch your pens. What are we at? An hour 35. So the ink has switched. I'll show you in 2 secs here. The ink has switched, and that I'm using for the fountain pen. This is where it was solid black in the fountain pen, and then as I put the blue cartridge in, I'm not sure how well it's coming through, but it has switched to a clear blue at this point, and that's fun. That's kind of fun how it's done that. You know, I like that. I like that it sort of makes me have to approach different things. All right. Okay, so I've got the good version of them, I got the bad version of them. So the whole point of this page is that it's the police basically interviewing a Jekyll Hyde character. Chris says, I don't lend my art material to anyone. Well, I do, but only in one context. It's whatever the pens that I bring with me to a monthly event that I host at a gallery here called the London Comic Jam. And so a lot of people don't have any accommodation for tools. And so I will bring, a number of pens and let people try different things out. Problem is that when it gets mixed back into what I'm working with, I'll oftentimes try to use something and find it's just been killed. Like somebody just pushes really hard when they're working, or they've just done something weird so that they've managed to dry out a pen or something like that. But there's certain things that I will not share. Like nobody's touching my Uli pen, stuff like that. But I tend to lend some stuff. Kat says it's more relatable and fun when they're based on real people. All right. Well, this is the head of the Scientology church. Kat says, so cool. Your wife is brilliant for finding colored inks. You got to play with different things. The nice thing about these is that I've got black, blue, purple, and red. There's a green out there in the wilderness that I could not find. But so, I started with a black originally. I've got a blue in there now. When this starts running out, I'm switching to the purple. And then when that runs out, I'm going to switch to a red one. So over the course of some images, you'll see this weird transition of value. Or maybe a whole image will be drawn in this one specific color, and this one will be drawn in that color. But at the end of the day, it's all going to come down as whatever color I choose it to be, because there's this wonderful effects that you can do in digital in Photoshop where I can scan the page and then decide whatever color I want it to be, because I want to take the white out if I'm going to have underlays of color, of tone, of skin tone, etc. But I can choose what color I want these lines to be. It's called color holds. Like I can have this be a sort of light brown or a warm brown color, and changes the whole tonality of a piece by using different underlying tones. And I tend to somewhat keep it consistently black. I mean, yesterday's page that I drew with a blue ballpoint pen as the principal mark making tool. There's a couple of little dabs of black in here and there, but I realized after the fact I wasn't even consistent with those. It still ties together. Like I use the black frames around panels. So that ties it into those places and sort of mutes down the fact that there's some here and there's not some there. But for the most part, people don't know how to look, right? Like the text is, when it says pit of fear on the page I posted today, the text is the outline of the letters is the same light blue that the background is, right? And it just sort of embeds those letters into the contextual image, right? Into the frame, the whole frame itself. So it's color's fun and color's weird, but I'm always trying different whatever. It's fun. It works for me. So I got this page to do. I've got to get going to get a couple things on their way today. But I'm really excited that everybody's trying different things. Chris, I'm going to check out the wax and watercolor stuff you're doing there, and take a look and see what's going on there. Kat, was it your picture that was posted today on Dee Dee's with the oyster in the truck? Was that you that did that one? I think somebody posted one this morning. I can't remember who it was. It was a fun piece anyhow. I really got a kick out of that. It cracked me up. But I want to check and see what everybody's working on, Kat. I want to look at what you're working on too. Now, Kat says your use of color is always so strong and adds so much power to the piece. Color's fun. Thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Color is one of those things where start with one and then build, right? And if you need to look at a color wheel to see what works against and what works with the color you've chosen at first, that's how you build onto it. It was Terry. It was Terry. Terry Brett. Yeah, I got a kick out of that piece today. Have you tried, Kat, to do the 3 prompt? I can't keep. There's so many names that I get washed over with, and I'm not good with names at all. My kids, I got numbers tattooed on their foreheads. Maybe not, but there's so many really talented artists. I'm trying to get around and seeing everybody's work, but Dee Dee's always great that she just boop. There's a thing. But I'm definitely going to go and check out everybody's pages. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun today. I'm having a good time. I'm really excited that I got to draw with my new pen. And even if Dee Dee teased me about me being excited about my pen. I think I'll get this finished off, but I'm going to do it as like it's a police interrogation scene because those are always fun. Just to push it. Another way I'm going to try to push the different elements is to have him in this very charming and hands and in the other version it's going to be very much a leaning in and menacing faces. So hopefully I'll show you. Anybody that does get a chance to try the 3 prompts with Dee Dee, please do. It's a lot of fun, and it doesn't have to be drawing. Rachel gives herself a 5-minute time limit on a thing. I draw an entire comic page in overnight, which is this stupid level of drawing a 3 prompt thing, but it's not that's awesome. No, it's what are you doing? Just draw a picture. But I like the idea of people incorporating collage, and I like the idea of people photo manipulation and stuff, and or cutting out existing images. So much fun to be had with that. Give it a try, though. If you haven't yet, try it out and see if it's something that just makes your brain go. It's good. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for coming and hanging out, and good luck with all the marking. Yeah, that's a lot. All right, and I'll be back tomorrow at 2:00, everybody. And I hope to see you here. And if anybody's got stuff that they're working on, they want to show me, put a link in the comments, and we'll encourage other people to go and check it out too. That's what I think I'm going to try to promote all the time. Please put a link to what you're working on in your social media stuff in the comments, and then that way other people get a chance to see what you're up to. I'm not one of those people that doesn't. I don't have a problem with people saying, "Here's who I am and here's what I'm doing." It's great. Let's see more. Kat, Chris says, see you around, and Kat says, fun stuff. TFS. Catch y'all later. Right on. Thanks so much, guys. I'll be back tomorrow too.